Mississippi. You'll see I'm not alone in the studio, which always brings me joy. But this time I got two friends that's joining me today, Dori Lowe and Brandi Perry. They are the brains behind the popular Facebook and I guess website Backroads and Burgers. Backroads and Burgers. I'm going to get it right. But now I'm trying to get to your new book that's just published, 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die, which I am holding it up, which is a fabulous tribute to our state and all the really good things, people, places to go, eat, do, stay, all the things. I know. So welcome back, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's Backroads and Burgers. I bet y'all hear Backyards and Burgers all the time.
We do.
Well, you might can own that now because they closed down. But that's for a completely different business opportunity. Backroads and Burgers have taken you guys all over Mississippi and now the Southeast for how long now?
Since 2018. 2018. We've branched out to Kansas. We're hopefully going to go a little bit further out west in the next couple of years. So it has definitely brought about things that we never
thought you could do. What I love on your intro is, do you love food and travel? And our group here on Good Things would say, yes. So that is exactly what started. And you started here in Mississippi and sort of going the back roads and finding the little, nooks and crannies of things to eat, play, and do. And I'm assuming over the years you kept a list. And so that list helped influence your new book, which is 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die. So how long have you ladies been working to compile this book?
Ooh. Like you said, the list is extensive. So it's way more than 100 things, obviously.
So I feel like there's going to be 100 and 200 or whatever things to do.
100 things, part two.
Part two.
Very possibly. But we always, I guess, doing the back roads and everything, people would always message us, like, we're going to be in this area, where should we eat? Or we're going to be, over here, and we're going to eat here, but what's something we can do while we're in that area, or that kind of thing. And so in the back of our minds, and when we be traveling, we would always say, we need a guidebook. We need to have something that somebody can have to take with them, or when they're out and about in Mississippi, just something that says, if you're in this area, do this. If you're in this area, do this. And so we'd always kind of talked about it and things like that. And so some other blogging friends of ours had written a book for their states. And so we were at school one day, and I said, why don't we just look and see if they have one for Mississippi, and if not, let's just reach out and say, hey, we will take care of Mississippi if you'll just give us the opportunity. And so that's kind of how it got the ball rolling. But like, our list was way more than 100, so that was probably the hardest part of this book, was narrowing it down to 100, because Mississippi has so many great things that. So
when you laid all of them out, your 200 plus, probably even more, so you have part two. How did you have like a checklist, Brandi, of like what did it take for it to make the 100 list?
Well, initially, me being a history teacher, 98% of them were all history related, and
people got to eat.
That's what I said. So the publisher, thank goodness, handed us basically a guideline, and it was broke down into 5 categories. It's sports and rec, food and drink, history and culture, shopping and fashion, and I think I'm missing one, but. So then we had to take that 100 list and purge it to fit in those categories. And that part was the hardest part for Dori and I, because we didn't want to leave any. It could have been 1,000 things to do in Mississippi, but we didn't want to leave anything out for this first go at it, because we obviously can see a second one or whatever in the future, but we wanted something that made a point as soon as it came out, and that's kind of where this list came from.
I'm sorry. And we definitely didn't want to limit it to one area of the state. Of course, we both live in South Central Mississippi, but we didn't want to leave out the Delta, because there's so many great areas to see in the Delta. So we wanted to make sure we covered the state as a whole as well. So that's where it got real detail-oriented, trying to make sure every category had something from every part of the state that you could appreciate, and then making sure, we covered everything that we could possibly cover.
And that's one thing I appreciate about it, and as well as encouraging people to have something like 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die, is because we are the worst at visiting our own state.
Right.
We talk all the time and encouraging people to visit Mississippi, and it's because you just are familiar with your area and you just assume that's the entire state, even though you know it's not. You just sort of feel like if I just drive a few hours up, it's going to be the same thing as if, I'm staying in my own hometown, and that couldn't be anything further from the truth.
Right.
Or you just might not know what to do when you get there. So now if you have like a little, staycation, meaning just staying around the house or not driving far, you can sort of figure out what it is that you need to be enjoying or doing, or just like not let the opportunity pass you by to know your own state. I mean, I would be sad to know that there were 100 things within my driving distance that I could have been on my life's bucket list and then never did them just out of sheer not recognizing that they were right under my nose.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we feel like we have to always travel so far, but we don't. We can go to some of the smaller places. What was the hardest category to fill?
Obviously not history from my perspective. I think the hardest category to fill for me was probably the shopping and fashion. Mississippi is known for such fantastic food. So that category
and
in
history,
itself and history could have been filled up with 100. And it wasn't that shopping and fashion was difficult because there wasn't choices. Shopping and fashion were difficult because, how do you choose? There are amazing boutiques and special businesses throughout the state that deserve
all on
that.
Our main streets, that make our main streets, the lifeblood of our main streets.
So we made a list of those and kind of picked out the ones that stood out from the rest. And of course, the cheese store at Mississippi State is on there. And then in my hometown, Hill Hardware, built in the early 1900s, is a hardware store, original floors.
Look at you in your history.
I know. And so just stepping into places like that, it didn't take us long for us to tell the story of those places.
And I see, too, you have the Lucky Rabbit there in Hattiesburg, which has its own unique. So it's not, when you think of the shopping and fashion category, it's not just where you can get your jeans and boots. It's a little bit more broad than that.
It is.
Right. Well, we wanted to make sure that what we included was unique and an experience, not just, just your average boutique. Because, like she said, how could we narrow that, and how could we include this one and not include this one? Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make sure with that category that wherever we suggested you go, it was not just, hey, go here to shop. It was, hey, go here for the history of this place or the experience that you might get while you're there.
Right.
And some of the history to learn. And I think when we think of shopping nowadays, we just think too quickly to going in and buying an outfit. But that's not true. Mm-hmm. There's a big piece of our culture that likes to antique, that likes to browse, likes to look around or just go. And, my granny would say, let's go browse. And so, it's like, sadly, owner, not the intentions to buy, but usually you walk away with something you never knew that you needed. But it was just this idea that you could just go and get away and kind of get lost in what you're doing, which I definitely know you can do at the Lucky Rabbit there in Hattiesburg, as well as some other places. Gosh, 100. So what was I don't know. I want to say, what's the last one that didn't make it? Like, what's the one on the cutting room floor that, do you remember it?
I'm trying
or the last one that did make it, not in 100 because it's categorized, or the last one you slid in.
What was I don't remember what. I know one of the last ones I remember writing in was about Leland, Mississippi, and Kermit the Frog. Mm-hmm. And the reason it was last, or one of the last ones, is because going back to geographical things, we had, the Delta's so rich in every category. And we didn't want to oversaturate. But then Dory and I kind of talked about it, and who has a childhood without Kermit the Frog?
Nobody.
And that's kind of how we were able to filter that in.
So what would you put in 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die? Let us know, 601-879-4395. They're going to be out and about the state making book signings and more. We got more with the girls coming up next. But if you want to pick up a copy of 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die, Brandi, where do you go?
You can go to reedypress.com. Of course, it's on Amazon. Or you can come see us this weekend at the State Fair. We'll be in the Trademark right next to the Genuine Mississippi store tomorrow.
So y'all are officially a brand, or a member of Genuine Mississippi.
We are. And that's always been something that we really enjoyed. We enjoyed the store. We thought they had such a cool mission. And so when that came out, somebody suggested for us to send an application, and we did. And I think that's going to open up a whole new ballgame for us.
So, Dori, tomorrow and Sunday, I do believe, y'all are going to be at the Mississippi State Fair.
We are.
And where will y'all be and what will y'all be doing? Just like...
We'll have a booth, and like she said, it'll be right next to the Genuine Mississippi booth there in the Trademark. So we'll have a booth there, and we'll be there tomorrow from 8 to
10 to...
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
10 to 8.
Yes.
Yeah, like 10 to 7, 10 to 8. And then Sunday about the same time, I'm guessing. And then we'll also be there again next weekend, next Saturday and Sunday.
And so if you're making your way to the Mississippi State Fair, make sure you make it into the Trademark to pick up your traveler's guide for 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die. I asked you guys, meaning you listening to Good Things, what would you add to it? Dan and Hasbert said, I hope they included Red Bluff near Foxworth. And Brandy's like,
Yes.
Yes.
So Red Bluff is something that Dori and I both grew up, around, and Red Bluff had to be in there. It is well worth the trip any time of year. And there's tons of history involved there as
Something
well.
I still haven't done. Like I feel, and right when I wanted to, I've always wanted to go and do it, but it was like when the pandemic, when people were getting more willing to get out during the pandemic, it was one of those places that got flooded. It got flooded with folks, and so not that I care about the fact that there was. I just didn't want to go when there was that many people. Period.
Yeah.
Not because of anything other than you kind of want it to be a peaceful experience.
Yeah.
I would think when you get out there and do that. But I hear fall-ish weather is a better time to see it.
It is, and
in terms of enjoyment.
If the river's not up, of course, it sits right on the Pearl River. If the river's not up, when you get to the bottom, you should see an old overturned train as well that a lot of people like to hike and get on and climb on and
do all the things. So have you done all the things? Have we seen all the things in the 100?
we have.
So, I feel like you got, I know it's a lot of work and this is part of your job and what you've chose to do. But again, I'm like, wow, what a privilege you both have to know of these 100 things in our state. And so when you hear people, and you think of people like me, and there's plenty of in here that I've heard of and even talked about, but haven't gone and do. What can you say to get us from stagnant to action in terms of actually, not just saying when, but do it?
I think during COVID, and I'm going to go back to that, people started adapting to the idea of staycations. And the whole basis of Backroads was based on a staycation mentality as well. So I think when you get free time, whether, of course, we're on fall break right now, but Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, whenever your kids are out or whenever you're off, just take the book, pick one thing to go do, and go do it. If you come see us tomorrow, we'll actually give you a physical checklist that you can check them off as you do it as well. There is something spectacular about having a bucket list. I'm a very goal-oriented person, and even though my bucket list has some dangerous things on it.
Like what?
Like swimming with sharks and things like that.
You want to go skydiving at 104? Hey, if you make it, Brandi, to 105 and choose to skydive, you'll hold the Guinness World Record, just so you know.
Really?
So you just got to live a few more years.
Okay.
But
I hope it's a few more. I've already done skydiving once, and I loved it.
Well, you need to go back at 105
I
so
will.
You can then get a certificate to take to your grave with you.
And I'll be in the exact same place I was the last time, on the ground, taking your picture.
But I do agree. I feel like we talk about it all the time, and sometimes we just take for granted the things that are right here and do. And food and drink, though, I think that is one thing that gets people more apt to get in their car and drive. Even a few friends of ours, we're on this journey. Every so often we find a new place to go and dine that's kind of off of the beaten path, and we've really enjoyed doing that. And part of it is the whole where the conversation of coming together with different ideas and then talking about like reviews and then, you know, and then the community around what can you add to it. So with the food and drink, what is there's going to be some that people absolutely know that you should go and do, but what are some of the more like under the radar type places for food and drink that you think most people may not know about?
One of them that I think of instantly is the fact that Mississippi has their own meadery. In Tupelo, Mississippi, it's Queen's Reward Meadery. It's wine made out of honey. And also, I think Miss Jerry does some charcuterie boards and some other snacks like that, too. Mm-hmm. Dori, what's one for you?
Ooh,
if you've never eaten at the Mayflower, I feel like that's one that you should definitely give a go before it leaves us.
I agree.
Yes. Nanny's Cupboard in Natchez is a really unique place. In fact, my mom was going to Natchez, and I said, go to Nanny's Cupboard. And she had never been, and she'd been to Natchez, 100 times. Yep. And she was like, I don't remember where that's at. And I told her how to get there. And she carried her little sewing group. And she messaged me back. She was like, they loved it. And I was like, see, get outside of the little main area and you can find all kinds of neat places.
And I think it comes down to getting out of your comfort zone too. Like, it's okay to drive to Holly Springs to eat a steak. It's okay to drive to Learned, Mississippi to eat a steak. I mean, drive until you don't have any phone service and enjoy it.
We've often driven to Yazoo after church service for U-Bonds for barbecue.
Yes.
I mean, why not? Like in those sort of ways. And so, someone said anywhere around Starkville to see.
The Starkville Cafe is in there. That was one of our favorite spots to eat breakfast. And of course the cheese store. And while you're there, make sure you take a tour of the whole thing. Learn from the cow to the cup, because that's an experience well worth having.
I don't know, and this is not Starkville, it's Oxford, but the Wonderbird, which is like Mississippi's own distilled gin. I don't know if it's in here, but it needs to be in the part 2.
Yes, we actually visited the Wonderbird and thought that was the coolest experience.
When you talk about learning from from they're making their own botanicals to the actual glass and then teaching you how to enjoy and drink it. To me, it's a full experience. Jeff in Pontotoc said, what about the Safari Wild Animal Park in Panola County? It's a really neat place.
That is not in there, but that might be something
I
to
love
put on the
whenever,
new list.
because you guys would be quintessential, like when I say Mississippi experts in terms of travel, because you've at least been to 100 places, if not more. And so that's the beauty of it. There's always something new pop up that folks don't know about. That's the best kept secret. And it's like, why are we keeping these things a secret?
Exactly.
We should make these things known, which you ladies definitely have. So 100 things to do in Mississippi before you die. What if you want to do them after you die? Can you not do that?
That may be frowned upon in some locations, but you can give it a try. Just don't let me know. Let Rebecca know.
The experience wouldn't be the same.
There's a couple of places in there that you might visit with some
of your spirits.
Well, I was going to say, with it coming up in, spooky, we are upon spooky season, and when you think about our history, there are some. Did any spooky spots make it onto the list?
I'm trying to think.
And spooky is relative to personal,
Yeah. Several of the restaurants, in the Lyric in Oxford, is known to have a few spooky folks. Of course, it's an entertainment venue. I'm trying to think of where else.
The house in Vicksburg, I can see McRaven has.
I've always wanted to tour that, but I never have anybody that's willing to tour a haunted house with me.
Well, you're alone here. This great big studio. I bet Rhino, he's pretty a brave dude. He'll probably go with you for sure in that one. I'm more of the shopping and eating and drinking friend that you might want to do that. Okay, so but in real talk, Christmas is coming upon us. They're looking for great fun gifts for someone. I mean, all the things. I feel like everyone should be honored to have one of these. Y'all are at the Mississippi State Fair coming up tomorrow, as well as next weekend, Sunday and the next weekend. But y'all are also a laundry list of other places throughout the state. Where can folks go and find you guys on where y'all may be doing book signings?
So after these 2 weekends, we go to the Natchez Balloon Festival. We are in Columbia at the Columbia Library. We are in Monticello for for one, and we're at Southern Prohibition this month as well. And then going into November, we will be at Crooked Letter Kitchen out in Pelahatchie and The Vault, along with Brookhaven at Expectations and the Campus Bookmark in Starkville.
Go like 100 Things to Do in Mississippi Before You Die's Facebook page. We'll share it in the Good Things Facebook group. I did want to say thank you, ladies, for letting me be a part of your project. I was honored to write the preface.
Yes.
So if you don't get it for any other reason, get it for that. But thank you all. Can't wait to have you back in. And you guys stick with us. We got Movies with Tanya coming up next.